Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, my SP friends? Man, I hope you guys are doing good. Can I just take a minute to say thank you for what you're doing? I know much of what you do, people don't see. It's very difficult, and you're working long hours with not the greatest pay in some really hard situations. So can I just say thank you? I think the Lord's honored. I think the Lord is pleased. I think He's going to reward you in great ways. Okay, not because of the work that you're doing, but because you're just giving Him praise and you're giving Him worship in the things that you do. But I know that in the middle of that, sometimes things get very difficult, especially when you work with other people. You know what I'm saying? Because there's probably some people on your team that just make you crazy. But what if there was one thing that you could do with your team that would change everything? I think that there is. And here's what it is. I believe that your success as a team is directly in proportion to the unity of your team. Your success as a team is in direct proportion to your unity as a team. If you do not have unity, you will not have success. If you have dysfunction, you're going to have dysfunctional results. If you have unified team, you're going to have unified results. And I can tell you, as a pastor of a church, I feel like my primary responsibility is to maintain the unity of the church. Not always easy. Doesn't mean that we always agree, but we maintain the unity. So if I ask you this question, think about this. Don't answer this out loud. It could be really embarrassing. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how unified is your team? On a scale of 1 to 10, how unified is your team? Here is what I know. Here's what I want you to remember today, and it's this. Unity brings the blessing of God. Unity brings the blessing of God. Now, how many of you would say, like, man, I could use the blessing of God in the things that I have to work on today because I'm in way over my head? Good. That means you have to trust Him. But listen, if you want the blessing of God, you're going to have to be unified. In Psalm chapter 133, in verse 1, it says this, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity." For brothers to dwell together in unity. Then verse 3 says this unity is like the dew of Hermon coming down from the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, life forevermore. So in other words, here's what the psalmist is saying. That unity brings the blessing of God. That when God sees unity, He commands a blessing. Now, here's what you have to know, is that unity is different than uniformity. Unity is completely different than uniformity. Because most of the time we think, like, yeah, we think we should be unified and everybody should be like me. Everybody should not be like me and everybody should not be like you. Why? Because it's all different parts of the body. The scripture talks about that, right? Here's a great example, I think, of unity and uniformity. Several years ago, I started to run. I haven't been athletic my whole life, but I was at a place where I needed to get in better shape. And so I started to run. And so I thought, I need a goal. I need something big that I'm working for. And so I signed up for a half marathon, 13.1 miles. Now, up to that point, I hadn't run any more than 3 miles at a time in my life. So I was freaking out. So I began this training regimen, and I trained and I trained and I trained, and I started running a little further and a little further. Now, in training, we ran about 10 miles. So I'd never been beyond 10 miles. So the day of my first mini marathon came, and I'm out running and I'm running along, and I'm like, man, I think I can do this. I think I can do this. And I'm getting to mile 10. I'm like, well, I haven't been this far before. And I go to mile 11 and I'm like, what's happened? I think I'm going to be actually able to finish this. I get to mile 12 and I'm pushing into mile 12. And there's this point in the race course. I call it a race. I didn't win anything that day, but in the race where we took a left turn. And when we took a left turn, I looked down, and probably 3/4 of a mile down, I saw the finish line. And I was like, what? That's the finish line. Like, I'm going to do this. And so as I turned and I saw that, my mind said, oh man, it's time to get going right now. And so I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run as fast as I can. I'm going to be passing everybody as I come down. And people are going to wonder, I don't know what this guy's waiting on, man. He's like sandbagging. He's going so fast now. Maybe he's running the race twice because he's so fast and he's passing everybody. And so I look and I see the finish line like 3/4 of a mile away. And my brain sends a signal to my legs that says, turn it on. Get it going. Let's push this thing hard. Speed up. We're going to run twice as fast as we've been running. So my brain sends a signal down to my legs, says, let's go. My legs had a quick committee meeting, sent a message back to my brain and said, tell Fat Boy that we've been running for over 12 miles and we're running no faster. And by the way, go ahead and tell him that he'll be lucky to cross the finish line. Now listen, that day, I didn't need my body to be uniform. I needed my body to be united. I didn't need all the parts of my body to do the same things. I needed my legs to do what my legs do. I needed my brain to do the thinking, what it does. I needed my heart to do what it does and pump the blood. I needed my spleen and my liver to do what they do. I needed my lungs to pump the oxygen to everything else. I didn't need my lungs to be my legs or to do the function of the brain. You see, but we were all going the same direction. There was unity. I did not need uniformity. I needed unity. And it came because my entire body said, the finish line, that's where we're going. And I got to the finish line that day, and my body was in unity, even though that it wasn't in uniformity. So look, man, I'm glad my legs aren't my brain, and my brain's not my spleen, and my spleen's not my heart, right? I'm glad there are differences. So sometimes the people on your team will drive you crazy, right? Because you're like an arm, and they're like the lungs, and you don't really like the lungs. Because the lungs just talk and breathe and take in air, but you're the arm, you want to get things done. But here's the thing, man, you got to respect what they're doing because the Lord made them the way that He did. He made you the way that you did. So instead of fighting against or thinking, I think they ought to change or they rub me the wrong way, maybe what you need to do is just come together and say, wait a minute, the Lord gave us very different skills, very different giftings. Look at me, very different personalities, so that we may accomplish the same thing. And when we lay in that unity, there's blessing that comes. You say, well, what's that same thing? What are we supposed to do? Well, Psalm 34:3 says this, that we're to magnify the Lord. That we're to magnify the Lord, and I think we're also to lead others to do the same. So as you're working together, right, you're going to have pockets of disunity. Deal with them. That may mean that you need to have some hard one-on-one conversations with people and say, hey man, I think we're out of sorts here a little bit. Can we just talk about this? Or, you probably don't realize it, but when you did this, this really did hurt me. Don't do this. Don't go and share a problem that you have with somebody else. You go and talk to that person. At my church, what we talk about with our staff, we say we have short accounts with each other. So you have a problem with somebody, you go and you talk it out and you work through it. Why? Because God blesses unity. Thank God your whole team is not like me. Thank God your whole team is not like you. So how about we stop being frustrated with each other and we push into each other and we say, God, thank you for making each of us different. And as we do, we walk together in unity. We get things done in unity. And here's what I know is going to happen, guys. The more unified you are, the more you're going to sit back in some of your staff meetings and say, I can't believe what's going on. I can't believe how the Lord is blessing this. I can't believe all the great things that He's doing. And God's going to be like, I have to bless it. I have to bless it. See, I wonder if maybe there'll be a time, hopefully soon, if not right now, then hopefully soon there's a time where I don't know, maybe the angels are talking to God in heaven and the angels are saying, God, how come you're pouring out so much blessing on that SP team right there? Like, you just got a pipeline of blessing going down there. And God's like, I got to do it. I got to do it because have you seen the unity? Because let me remind you, angel, that when my people are unified, there I pour out the blessing and there tremendous things happen. So my friends, today, be unified and expect to walk in the great blessing of God.